Julie Ward was a British woman who was killed in Kenya in September 1988. Ward died whilst on safari in the Masai Mara Game Reserve. The subsequent investigation into her death was notable for the campaign by her father, John Ward, firstly to persuade the Kenyan authorities to recognize that his daughter was murdered, and secondly to try to identify the killer or killers. 3 people were charged with her murder, although none have been convicted. Death. Julie Ward was a publishing assistant and amateur wildlife photographer from Bury St Edmunds in England. At the beginning of September 1988, Ward had been in Africa for 7 months photographing wildlife and was due to return to England in about a week. She was traveling to the Masai Mara Game Reserve with an Australian friend, Dr. Glenn Burns. On the 5th of September 1988, the vehicle they were driving, a Suzuki Jeep, broke down, so Dr. Burns returned to Nairobi and Ward spent the night alone at the Mara Serena Lodge. On the 6th of September, the vehicle was repaired and Ward left to drive to the nearby Sand River camp to recover some camping equipment. This was the last time she was seen alive. Ward was reported missing and her father John Ward flew to Kenya to find his daughter. He hired a plane to search the areas of the game reserve where his daughter was known to have camped alone. A pilot sighted the Suzuki Jeep in a gully next to a river and Mr. Ward went to investigate in person. Julie Ward's burned and dismembered body was found in the ashes of a fire by John Ward on the 13th of September. Investigation. The original theory put forth by the Kenyan officials was that Ward had been eaten by lions and struck by lightning. However, they later accepted that she was murdered after her father's efforts uncovered further evidence. The Kenyan coroner's report had been altered to disguise the fact that her bones had been cut by a sharp blade rather than gnawed by animals. A British pathologist found that Ward had been dismembered with a machete, then doused in petrol and set alight. John Ward, a retired hotelier, spent nearly £2 million on the investigation and made over 100 visits to Kenya. He has accused the Kenyan government of former President Daniel Arap while trying to cover up Miss Ward's murder to prevent damage to the tourist industry. A former MI6 agent has admitted having a role in the case. Subsequent events. In 1992, after the first of 2 trials, 2 junior park rangers were acquitted of her murder due to a lack of evidence. The presiding judge in the trial recommended the investigation of the head park ranger. In 1997, the case was re-examined by a fresh team of Kenyan police. In July 1998, Simon Makala, who was the chief park warden at the time of the murder, was arrested following a 2-year investigation. On the 16th of September 1999, Simon Makala was found not guilty at the second trial due to lack of evidence. In 2004, a British inquest, held at Ipswich, recorded a verdict of unlawful killing. In October 2009, the case was reopened after a secret visit to Kenya by John Yates, the head of the Metropolitan Police's anti-terrorism squad. In December 2009, Valentino Uhuru Kadipo, a key witness of the murder, died. Kadipo died in Denmark where he had lived in exile for more than 20 years. Ward's murder was so sensitive that Kadipo had fled Kenya following his testimony. In 2018, John Ward campaigned in the media for the authorities in Kenya to obtain a DNA sample from the person he suspected of the crime. See also List of unsolved murders. References. Further reading. Ward, John. The Animals Are Innocent. The Search for Julie's Killers. Headline 1991. ISBN 0-7472-3763-8. Hiltzik, Michael A. 1991. A Death in Kenya. The Murder of Julie Ward. New York, N.Y. Delacorte Press. ISBN 0-385-30191-X. LCCN 900271998.